Well, hello there, Salome here. Welcome. Since you clicked this video, probably you love films as I do, or hopefully even more if that's possible. I decided to record this video about 10 best films made in 2021 in my opinion, because a lot of people have been approaching me asking about my recommendations, since everyone who knows me knows that I watch maybe 10 times more film than the average person. So it is not unusual for someone to ask me what's the favorite film that you've seen lately or something like that. That's the first reason. And the other reason I decided to record this video is that the past few years have been so chaotic and unreliable that I do think that we need to ask questions what we as human beings are doing on Earth, because clearly we are not doing so well, aren't we? And a film is a very great way to reflect on us and ask questions. What does it mean to be human in 21st century? Well, not all the films will help you, but definitely films in my list ask more questions than the average films. Especially today, we need to reflect on ourselves, because I think that no matter what's happening externally, everything is the reflection of our inner world, and a film is directly connected to what's happening to us. These films that I have on my list are from different parts of the world, and it's a really good way to see that no matter where you are, human beings are painfully connected, as one of my favorite filmmaker Bergman said. I have selected 10 because I do think that it's the rightful amount of the films, not too much, not too little. And before we get into the list, I do want to say a little disclaimer, because a film is a very subjective art, and it is based on the individual taste. So this list is based on my taste. If you don't like or disagree to what I have to say, you can comment down below and recommend me some other films. That's always an option. But if you don't speak human language and you just want to leave hate comments, don't even bother, because I will delete them. Regardless of where you are and what you're doing, I think you really will enjoy these films. They come from different parts of the world, and they are all fabulous. But I do want to say that my taste is leaning towards more author films that are a creative work on one individual filmmaker. So I do have the preference to author films, but in my list I have also commercial ones, and yeah, I try to make it as diverse as possible. So let's jump into the list, and the first one is the number 10 spot, and I put The Eyes of Tammy Faye on the 10th spot. I will read the synopsis from IMDb just to give you the 2 or 3 sentences of what this film is about, and then I will jump into my personal opinions and subjective taste and reflection. If you don't want to be spoiled, you can skip some films that I'm talking about and come back to this video later as you wish. There are no rules. The Eyes of Tammy Faye in IMDb reads as an intimate look at the extraordinary rise, fall, and redemption of televangelist Tammy Faye Baker. The first scenes that I saw were the eyes of Jessica Chastain, and I immediately thought that this would be a very beautiful film, because at the first few minutes we see the eyes of Tammy Faye, the eyes of Jessica Chastain, and her face is full of makeup and mascara, and she refuses to take this makeup off, and a person who likes attention and who puts a lot of energy in how she looks and how she's presented. And because she's a televangelist, of course, she was always exposed to the camera, and even when people ask, she refuses to take this huge amount of makeup off because her identity is attached to it. And I have to admit that I don't really enjoy biographies, because the main reason why I don't love most of the biographies is that sometimes filmmakers, they want to show people in the more positive ways, or they make excuses of people who the biographies are about, and they are too radical. They sometimes show a person in a very dark shades or in a very bright shades. And I think that The Eyes of Tammy Faye is exception, because the filmmaker Michael Showalter did an amazing job, because he really showed the diversity and complexity of characters. Tammy Faye and even her husband, portrayed by Andrew Garfield amazingly, they are this very lovely couple who have their really bad and dark sides. They are sometimes very manipulative, very ignorant, not as smart as a televangelist should be, but also they are very naive, they are very childlike, and they are at times kind-hearted. So this composition of really, different character traits is amazingly showed in this image, and it is impossible for you to watch the film and not to fall in love with these characters. You are angry at their ignorance, but you also love them because they are just very naive human beings who want to live a good life, and who will go to an amazing extent and amazing measures to fulfill their needs as any human being. So The Eyes of Tammy Faye was a really good and a decent picture based on documentary and archival footage, but showing you a very fictional side to the life of Tammy Faye and her husband. And I do believe that Andrew Garfield should have been nominated for The Eyes of Tammy Faye more than for Tick Tick Boom. He was nominated at Oscars for Tick Tick Boom, and I really believe that he did an amazing job here, more amazing job here than there. And just if you don't know, Jessica Chastain also won Academy Award, Oscar, for Best Actress for this role, Tammy Faye. Not that it matters, I really don't follow Oscars that much. Me and my friend did record the video about the predictions and then reactions of Oscar, so if you want to see that, you can check it out. I will comment it below. But it's in Georgian, so to all the Georgian followers, you can watch that. But in general, I don't follow Oscars because I don't think that it does a good job in terms of discovering very extraordinary images. But I do believe that Jessica Chastain deserved this award, and she's just a goddess. I've been following her career in years, and she shines in everything. And Tammy Faye, they have amazing casting, and of course this type of biographies depend a lot on the casting. So if the actor is not strong enough and charismatic enough to lead you through lives of people, then this image is doomed to failure. And fortunately, the casting was great, and Andrew and Jessica really nailed this role. And number 9 goes to The Power of the Dog, directed by Jane Campion. I'm gonna be honest with you, and I'm gonna tell you that I don't enjoy westerns at all. I do think that they have been very overly masculine and very radical, because most westerns show you bad versus evil, bad versus good, and evil versus kindness. I don't like this type of radical opposition, but I have to admit that Jane gave Western a very feminine and soft side, and the composition is wonderful in the end, because you do have this masculine touch of Western and all this harsh environment of countryside life, but you do have it with softness and kindness of the characters. Let's read what the IMDb says here. The synopsis says, charismatic rancher Phil Burbank inspires fear and awe in those around him. When his brother brings home a new wife and her son, Phil torments them until he finds himself exposed to the possibility of love. So Phil is portrayed by Benedict Cumberbatch, and I do believe that he deserved an Oscar more than the other guy who got it, unfortunately. So what I really enjoyed in this film, that not only Phil is portrayed as a complex character, but all of the other characters. You cannot say that Phil is the main protagonist of this film, because you have Rose, you have Peter, you have an amazing nature, all these mountains and a half desert touch of the environment gives you the essence of what it's like to live in this harsh environment and lead your life here. Is that you cannot say for example about Phil that he's only violent, because once you say that he's violent, you also are shown his softer side, his appreciation of nature, his wildness, his devotion. Phil shows you that he's a bully, but he is also capable of love. And this is a very difficult thing for filmmakers to achieve. Sometimes they underline only good or bad traits of the characters, and Jane did an amazing job in showing us what it's like to be human in this type of harsh environment. Phil, Rose, Peter, all these characters are very diverse, very tumultuous. For example, Rose, let's be honest, she doesn't have a happy life. She's a widow. She has a son that who she rarely sees. She's very lonely, and suddenly she's married to the brother of Phil. Phil despises her, or we don't know if he despises her or not, but we do see that he likes to torment her and bully her. And this type of relationship between them really gives you really makes you interested and makes you be into the film, because you are very tensed once you see how Phil bullies Rose, and how Rose turns to alcohol to treat herself and cure herself. So the characters are very interesting. They go really well to the landscape and the shape of nature in Montana. All in all, I really enjoyed the film, and I think that Jane Campion deserved Oscar that she got. So number 9 spot, The Power of the Dog. Number 8 spot on my list is very dear filmmaker to my heart. He's my favorite filmmaker of all times. We are going to Thailand this time, and the film that I'm talking about is Memoria, directed by Apichatpong Veerasettakul. Apichatpong Veerasettakul, even the name shouts, give me attention, I'm here, and you should give this filmmaker attention. You should spend hours watching his films. This is a filmmaker who will help you go on another level of cinematic experience. Let's see what the Memoria is about. A woman from Scotland, while traveling in Colombia, begins to notice strange sounds. Soon she begins to think about their appearance. Well, this is a very ambiguous synopsis, and so is the film itself, and so is our life. Apichatpong Veerasettakul is the type of filmmaker who helps you see the world you live in. He helps you and encourages you to observe more. In this particular film, the observation is focused on more on the sound system, rather than any other aspect. Memoria is a very particular film. This is not a film that will help you pass time. This is the film that you have to be with. You have to be present with this filmmaker in order to discover life and sounds together with him. And he really opens the new perspective for you, and if you are not with him, then you will lose this whole experience. So this is a very enchanting film. I would not expect anything less from Veerasettakul, and I do recommend you watch his earlier films. But the reason why I think this film is also very particular is that it pays attention to time, how time passes. I remember the scene in Memoria when Tilda Swinton's character asks a man in forest to show her how he sleeps, and he really shows her and sleeps in front of her, and he passes out. It's a very beautiful scene, and it shows you not only the presence of these people in forest and in nature, but also how time passes and how important it is to dream. I don't even know how to characterize this scene, because you just really have to be with it. I know that for some of the people, when I speak about it's important to sleep in the forest, you think that everyone can go to the forest and sleep, but the reality is that no, we don't appreciate being in forest, or we don't appreciate everyday things that we can do. And that's why we have Apichatpong, because he really reminds us to pay attention and observe what it's like to be human. Tilda Swinton is amazingly chosen for this role, because her bodily experience and her face goes really well to the essence of the film, and I do believe that everyone should watch this film to have this cinematic experience. Number 7 spot goes to a very interesting film. Um, it's called Bad Luck Banging or Loony Porn, the film from Romania. I know that Romanian new wave of filmmakers are doing well, but to be honest, I'm not a fan of Romanian films that much. Bad Luck Banging or Loony Porn has something very unique for me because it focuses on social life, of course, and I think the filmmaker himself, Radu Jude, he worked with Cristi Puiu on the death of Mr. Lazarescu. So when I was watching this film, I certainly thought about Cristi Puiu. I will read the synopsis really quickly. Amy, a school teacher, finds her career and a reputation under threat after a personal sex tape is leaked on the internet. Forced to meet the parents demanding her dismissal, Amy refuses to surrender to their pressure. So Amy is a Romanian school teacher, and the film starts with the sex tape that is leaked to internet, and because of that, Amy faces the dismissal from her teaching job. I really liked the way Radu Jude, the filmmaker, showed life of Amy, and not only life of Amy, but life of Romanian person. He inserted not only her personal mise-en-scenes, but also he presented unique archival footage of highlights of Romanian history, and it went really well to the general feeling of the film. And it's very, Romanian cinema is very close and familiar to me, being Georgian, because we do have the same post-totalitarian and post-Soviet culture. We are still forming our society, and here in this film, Bad Luck Banging or Loony Porn, it's very distinctly show how the Romanian society is still developing, and it is not here, not there. It's not Soviet, but it's not fully liberated, it's not fully democracy. And the struggles of Amy shows it really well, because when she faces dismissal, she wants to stand up for herself, but she's clearly not a fully emancipated woman, but she also wants to fight for her rights. And this this state of being in between is very, very, very interesting to observe as a person. It is very funny and tragic at the same time. The filmmaker shows everything in a tragic comedy type of attitude, and he doesn't forget to watch all this from the higher perspective. He never ever forgets to laugh about all this situation, because the situation is very funny actually, because it's not a secret that everyone has sex, but the conformist and conservative school and parent society still judges Amy for having sex with her husband, not someone else, and they don't have this capacity to empathize with the person, with Amy, because this type of thing could happen to anyone's homemade sex tape could be leaked, right? but instead of emphasizing and understanding of what she's dealing with, they are trying to judge her, not trying, but they are judging her, they are shaming her. And the last scene of this trial and the parent gathering, how they shame Amy, and how Amy tries to defend herself in sometimes most ridiculous ways, is a very funny, intellectually stimulating scene that is very reminiscent of this post-Soviet society, post-totalitarian society, who is not yet ready to let go of this, bullshit and unnecessary struggles, unnecessary stereotypes and taboos. So I think that you will enjoy watching Bad Luck Banging or Loony Porn. It is not the film of my heart. I still think that it is more social driven than character driven, but I do believe that it's one of the best films made in 2021. Okay, so the number 6 film, I think, is the film that everyone watched and everyone knows about, and I could not make this list without mentioning Dune. So number 6 is Dune. I will read the synopsis. An Apple family becomes embroiled in war for control over the galaxy's most valuable asset, while its heir becomes troubled by visions of dark future. Directed by Denis Villeneuve, who is a French-Canadian filmmaker. Dune is obviously science fiction, and I do enjoy science fiction. I watch a lot of science fiction, but I have to admit that lately the quality of science fiction is degrading, unfortunately. But Dune surprised me, and it is a film that you definitely should only see in the cinema in a big black box, because the sound system of this film and the general sensation of this film you can only experience in the cinema. What I really loved about this film first is amazing cast, because for me personally it was the discovery to see Rebecca Ferguson as a Lady Jessica Atreides. She is a discovery for me. I think that we should expect a lot more from her. She's a type of woman who you definitely would say is a femme fatale type of woman. Her face and her whole body is meant to be Jessica Atreides. She's just a very strong character. And I was also pleasantly surprised by Timothée Chalamet. I don't like him as an actor, to be honest, but he portrayed Paul Atreides, the main character, really well. And as for Oscar Isaac, he's been my favorite since years. I love everything he's done, and he's just an amazing actor. But why I think that Dune is not only science fiction but an amazing cinematic experience is that the aesthetic of desert is just unbelievably attractive. It makes you want to watch it and watch it and watch it, especially accompanied by the amazing music of Hans Zimmer. I mean, what else can he do, you would think, at this point, because Hans Zimmer has done just great musical performances for a lot of films, but here he really understands the sound of sand. I don't even know how to describe it. you just want to watch this film and hear the sounds, not only music, but the sounds, the way the characters speak, the languages. Hans Zimmer and his team, his orchestra, has done an amazing job, and I do believe that this film is an amazing partnership of a filmmaker, music orchestra, and also the cast. Previously, I mentioned that I really lean towards Oscar films, and this is a big production movie. It's not a film in my taste, it's a movie, but it's a movie you should see and enjoy. Yeah, I don't think that it will, change your life as the film that Apichatpong Verasatekul can do for you, but I do believe that it's an amazing entertainment. It is the film that once again reminds you how joyful visual images can be, joyful and aesthetically pleasing. So I think that you should not skip this opportunity to watch Dune and just enjoy,